What's up, everybody? It's your boy Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast. This is the undefeated post-weigh-in show brought to you by Pub Sports Radio and powered by Superbook Sports. All the lines presented are brought to you by Superbook Sports. Make sure you check them out. Sign up over there. Get your gamble on. We are taking one final look at these fighters from UFC London as they step on the scales, as they face off with one another, and see if we can't find just a little bit of extra value so we can put some money in your pockets tomorrow on fight day. Remember, we're in London. It's going to be an early card. Mimosas and waffles. Wake up in the morning, smell the fights, baby. I got up this morning, totally forgot that it was a London card. The weigh-ins were already done before I got to my desk. I got to watch them all very leisurely as I sipped on my caffeine, and it took my guy Dan Levy from Half the Battle letting me know that we were in London time, so I almost missed the face-offs because I saw the UFC announcement. I thought it wasn't for like 6 hours, and I was like, what is going on? Totally forgot we were in a different country. So, good morning. I'm awake now. Let's talk about these fighters as they get ready to take on each other tomorrow for our entertainment. First fight of the night. Cody Durden taking on Muhammad Makhmudov. Durden came in at 126. Muhammad came in at 125. Durden looked solid on the scales. No issues, no problems there for me. Muhammad got on the scale and gave out a whoo as soon as they read his name off. He is excited. He is amped up. He looked locked in, ready to go. This is one where Dana wouldn't let these guys get anywhere close to each other. There's been way too much trash talk going on. Both guys were pumped up, had to be separated. It looks like Muhammad is a little bit bigger than Durden, a little taller, a little longer. Hard to tell because they didn't let them, get close enough to actually face off with each other. Durden rocking the sunglasses. I'm always suspicious. I hate when they're rocking the sunglasses. This isn't, my opinion has not changed on this spot whatsoever. I think that Muhammad is probably the much better fighter with the higher ceiling. However, this could be a big jump up too early for him, so I don't really want to trust him at minus 400 in this spot. I think Cody Durden's got a sketchy gas tank. He gives up submissions. Muhammad has a nasty rear naked choke on him. I could see him getting a late sub, maybe round 3. Not a spot that I'm really planning on putting any investment into. I really want to see someone like Muhammad prove it to me, jumping in against a guy like Cody Durden. It's a big jump up in level for his competition. Maybe sprinkle the sub prop. That's about it. That's all I'm looking at here. Nothing for me. Next up, the ladies taking flight. Corey McKenna taking on Elise Reed. Both women came in at 115. Now, McKenna, she had a super blank look on her face. Not getting excited, very even-keeled, not imposing physically at all, very unassuming, so can't really take much from the scales on this one. Elise Reed came in, no issues whatsoever. She had some abs popping. You love to see that. When they face off, though, boy, McKenna is thick. I mean, Reed is slightly taller than McKenna. I thought she was going to have maybe a little bit more of a height and a reach advantage, but they're almost the same size, and McKenna is much more thickly built than Elise Reed is. It's a little concerning. I lean to Elise Reed being maybe a bit of a live dog. I don't trust McKenna at this line. She's young, she's green, she's made some mistakes. What I do think is maybe a sneaky little spot is to take the under 2.5. I think Elise Reed, or maybe the fight doesn't go the distance at plus 200. Elise Reed is a solid striker. She's got good taekwondo, decent boxing. She hits hard. We've seen that's really the hole in Corey McKenna's game, is that she has little to no striking to speak of at this point. She's a solid grappler, though, very strong, powerful wrestler. With that size and strength advantage, you would think she'd be able to get Elise Reed to the ground, and then one or both of these women are totally available to be submitted. So I think that there is some doesn't go the distance value here on this spot, and I might be adding that fight doesn't go the distance at plus 200 to my card. I also think that Elise Reed, like in round 3 or by TKO, is maybe a little degenerate sprinkle. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But realistically, this is a spot where McKenna is probably getting propped up for the win. She should win, and I think both women have the ability to finish. So maybe violence. Timur Valiev taking on Jack Shore. Both guys came in at 136. Valiev looked shredded, little rough on the scales, little bit, but he's okay. Gave a solid flex. He's a professional. He's been here before. Jack Shore looked absolutely dead on the scales today. Skeletor. This man is big for the weight class, and you can tell it took everything he had to make that cut. He looked absolutely awful. Now, when they faced off, Obviously, he had the chance to hydrate back up. The weigh-ins and the ceremonial face-offs a couple hours apart, so we were able to see that Jack Shore actually looked fine. It's one of those spots where I love that there's a little bit of time between them, because on the scales, he looked absolutely terrible, but a couple hours later with some fluids, he looked totally fine. So I don't want to jump to conclusions that he's, going to have a damaged performance or anything like that because the weight cut was so tough on him, but boy, did he look bad on the scales, in my opinion. Timur Valiev went in and tapped his knee looking for a takedown type of thing. That was pretty funny. It was one of these weird, strangely friendly type of spots. Dana White wasn't sure if he should split these guys up or not. Jack Shore didn't flinch. It gave very, I want to shake his hand, I want to shake his hand vibes. The guy on the airplane aggressively walking his opponent down looking for the handshake. That's what Timur Valiev looked like today with Jack Shore. He just kept saying, I want to, he just wanted to shake his hand. He just wanted to touch him. He tapped him on the head. It was real weird from Timur Valiev this morning. I've gone back and forth on this spot all week. So I think that it's maybe a little bit of a buy low spot on Timur Valiev, but I also can't deny that I think that Jack Shore is the goods. He's got a decent size advantage here in this spot. I could see Shore being able to compete with Valiev in the wrestling, but Valiev, we know he trains with those Russian monsters before. Even though he's more of a striker, he's got good takedown defense, good get-up game. So if this is a striking match, even though he's at a size disadvantage, he should be the better striker, and he should be winning the minutes here. I think Timur Valiev at minus 120 is my lean. Again, I don't think I'm going to bet this one. I might. I don't know if I'm ballsy enough to pull the trigger going against Jack Shore, but I do think it's a spot where the hype of Jack Shore has kind of overblown this line. People really down on Timur Valiev, doing MMA math. He almost got beat by Hany Barcelos. We saw what happened to Hany Barcelos, losing to frankly a nobody as far as the UFC fandom are concerned. So, ipso facto, he's not that good, and Jack Shore is the hype train kid. So maybe Jack Shore is legit. Maybe he comes in here and gets the dang thing done. But I wouldn't hate the stab. Honestly, I think this is one of those annoying fights where you can justify both sides. You absolutely can justify an argument on both sides with different angles. It just comes down to who you think is legitimate on Saturday. Jack Shore probably is the guy, but, I don't know. I'm struggling with this one, guys. If you couldn't tell, I'm struggling on this one. The one thing, I kind of feel like Jack Shore inside the distance maybe is the spot that I kind of like here, though. Just from a line value spot, because he's talked about wanting to get that finish. He's really wanted to go out there and stop being the decision guy. So if he's really got that in mind, we've seen Timur rocked and hurt before. And if he can get the grappling going, then he can probably get some kind of a TKO or get him to give up his back and sink a sub in. I wouldn't hate a little degenerate poke on Jack Shore inside the distance here. Regardless of who I think actually is going to win the fight, I think the number's crazy because he always goes to decision. You can probably get decent value there. Paul Craig here, taking on Nikita Krylov. Craig 206, Krylov 205, and Paul Craig was stone cold and intense as always on the scales today. He looked great. He's in good shape. Nikita Krylov also looking good. No issues there whatsoever. When they came on to the ceremonial weigh-ins, Craig came out in his full war paint. You always love to see that. Ripped his shirt off his chest. He is ready to go. I love the intensity that Paul Craig brings to every single face-off. He went nose to nose with Nikita Krylov, had Dana a little bit concerned, but they both assured him that they weren't going to get into it, so he let him do it. Krylov slightly bigger. Both guys are extremely confident. This was a very intense face-off. This is a spot where I think that Nikita Krylov should win the fight as long as he just minds his P's and Q's. If he can just keep this thing standing, if he can point fight rather than engaging Paul Craig in a wrestling match, that's where he shines. Nikita Krylov has gone to the ground with some of the best guys in the division, like Glover Teixeira. He was able to escape when Glover had full back control on him. That says something. He is solid with his defensive grappling at this stage of his career. He's got a lot of submission losses on his record, but it's been a while since he's been tapped. So I kind of feel like Nikita Krylov is the right side here, but geez, Paul Craig, we talk about guys having a puncher's chance. He somehow manages to find his way to a submission every damn time. He's got a 100% finish rate in the UFC, so he's gonna find a way to get this spot to the ground. And if he does, Krylov is in serious trouble because Paul Craig always manages to flatten out whoever he is facing or lock up an armbar. It's nuts what this guy can do. What I'm actually looking at here is maybe locking in the over 1.5, because if Nikita Krylov does get subbed, if he does get tapped, I think it's because he makes a mistake a little bit later in the fight, not so much early in the fight. I think Nikita by decision or a late TKO makes sense. I also think Paul Craig's classic round 3 submission is always going to be on the table, but either way, they happen late. So I'm looking at the over 1.5, and that's a spot I legitimately may be putting my money on this week. Last week I called like almost every single total correctly, but I didn't bet a single one of them. It's one of these things, I always talk about the totals, but it's rare that I play them except for on like the main and the co-main events. So I'm trying to squeeze more totals into my betting action because I seem to have a decent read on them. They tend to go okay, but I haven't actually been putting much money on them, so I'm going to give it a whirl. Let's see if I can keep going and calling these things the right way. Sergey Pavlovich taking on Shamil Abdurakhimov. Pavlovich came in at 254. Shamil came in at 258. And Pavlovich is a big, thick boy. He looks like freaking Colossus from Deadpool, like the big Russian metal man from X-Men. That's exactly what Sergey Pavlovich looks like. It wouldn't shock me if they used him as reference. Shamil Abdurakhimov, classic Shamil. He's a big old flabby guy, 40 years old at this point. We're not expecting anything different. No issues from him. Sergey has a decent, significant size advantage here in this spot. He is bigger than Shamil. Now, apparently these guys are former training partners, so there was a respectful face-off here. Man, this is a weird spot because I do think that Sergey Pavlovich probably wins this thing by knockout. We've seen Shamil's durability kind of starting to get chipped away. It's a changing of the guard type of fight where you just expect the young guy to get it done. But, you know, if Shamil's got some backstories on this guy, they're former training partners. He's a bit slick. He's a bit savvy. Shamil is a bit more of a murderous power puncher than a speed power puncher. And Dawkins, it was the speed that really got Shamil with Dawkins. So if Sergey can't nail the button the way that Dawkins could early in round 1, I could see this fight getting sketchy. I could see it slowing down. I could see Shamil fighting his way back in, chipping away at the weaknesses he knows exist on a kid like Sergey. And when you've got a fighter like Sergey who hasn't been outside of round 1, eventually somebody's going to drag him out of round 1. We don't know what that looks like yet. So I'm kind of staying away from this one. I mean, the prediction is Sergey Pavlovich via first round knockout, but the bookies are fully expecting that, so you're not going to get any value on any of those numbers. If you're one of those people that you want to lay the chalk and it makes sense, and as long as you win the bet, you don't care, you're good, go for it. Go nuts. That's not my style. So I want to get value on a good number, and even though Sergey Pavlovich via first round KO is probably the way this fight should end, even money is not a good number for that outcome. So this could be bed shitter season. This could be the spot where Shamil reminds everybody that he's a world-class fighter, and especially with some knowledge of the way that Sergey fights, some of his weaknesses, maybe Shamil's the guy that drags him late and gives him that veteran lesson. We've seen him do it before. Shamil, by decision, in my opinion, is like maybe your crazy sprinkle spot here, where he just manages to outclass and grind away on a young kid who doesn't know what he's doing after he gets out of that first 5-minute session. Next up, we got Makwan Merkani taking on Mike Grundy. Merkani came in at 146, Grundy 145, and Merkani looked drained on the scale. He did not look good this morning, in my opinion. Grundy was intense, very intense, gave a huge flex. I mean, this guy is solid muscle up there. He looks mean. We know what's going on with him. When they face off, Makwan slightly taller, Grundy slightly thicker. Good stare down, very respectful. These guys kind of kept their distance. I've got some people asking me why I decided to go ahead and move here on Grundy. I got minus 165, 3.3 units to win 2. Grundy is the side that I wanted to be on in this spot since the beginning of the week, and I did talk about how I think I'm going to pass, I'm going to let it go, this one could get sketchy, and then the news came out about Mike Grundy's father, and this is where, again, I am the type of guy that bets into narratives sometimes. I am the type of guy that looks for those extra pushes, those extra motivations for fighters, and more often than not, they've panned out. I mean, there have been a couple times, obviously, where I've been wrong, but I do believe that things like that can give people an extra push. When things get hard, when Grundy's got to dig just a little bit deeper to get the win, his terminal father will be cage side. Like, that's when he's going to show out. That's when he's absolutely going to dig deeper than he ever has before to get that win. I believe that. So I already favor Grundy to win the fight. He's got the knockout power. Makwan is a guy that's coming off a bad KO loss, so I worry about his chin. We also know he's got a bad gas tank. We've seen him slow down and tire out before. So I think this is a spot where already leaning Grundy, with the news of his father being cage side terminal, he's not winning. He's not losing this fight. Grundy's not losing this fight, especially not to a guy like Makwan Merkani, who we know wrestles for 5 minutes and then tires out and slows down. So I think Grundy is on the table here. I got a decent sized bet on him, and I did put a half unit on Grundy by KO at plus 750. He also came out and talked about looking for the finish, really wants to show off in front of his dad, and we know he's got the power to do it. He's hurt some people on the feet before, and if these guys decide not to wrestle because they are both such high-level wrestlers, Grundy talked in his interview about how it's a pride thing at that point, because you don't want to give up a takedown. You don't want to get stuffed from a takedown, because both you guys have that wrestling background. That's your bragging rights. That's what you're looking for. So they decide to strike it out instead. I kind of expect that here. And if Grundy's got the bigger power, he'll be the one probably going forward more. That tends to favor with the judges a little bit better. So yeah, I'll take the shot here. I got Mike Grundy. I got him by knockout. I think once Makwan slows down, and especially if his chin is compromised, I think it probably is at this point, Grundy definitely has the ability to knock him out. So let's go Grundy. Elliot taking on Jai Herbert. Topuria came in at 156, Herbert 155. Both guys looked really good. Topuria looked mean while he was flexing on the scale today. Jai Herbert, quick flex, got out of there fast, a little awkward. When they face off, though, Jai is so much taller than Herbert. I mean, he's a tall, skinny, lanky dude at 155, but Elliot Topuria is a short, stocky 145er. This is a big size difference. Now, I don't know that that's going to cause much of a problem. We know that Jai Herbert doesn't have great takedown defense. We know Elliot Topuria is a wrestling monster, and he's going to have a speed advantage here. You know, Dana wouldn't let these guys get anywhere near each other, especially with everything that happened with Patty. He wasn't letting these guys get even close. I do have Topuria in a parlay. My opinions have not changed on this fight. I mean, Jai Herbert's live for an upset knockout due to size, due to that punching power, sure. But Elliot Topuria is a guy that we've never seen finished. We know he can grapple his ass off. We know he's explosive. He hits hard. We've seen Jai end up on his back way too often. Like, I just think the wrestling is going to be the path to victory here on this one. And whether or not Ilya gets the finish, I'm not sure, but I think he's fully capable. Luana Carolina taking on Molly McCann. Carolina 126, McCann 125. Carolina hit us with the Wakanda Forever. I love when they do that. Molly McCann looking great on the scales, happy, but a little bit lobstered up. She was coming out of the sauna, you could really tell. Meatball was screaming on the scale. She is so pumped up. There is nobody like Molly McCann when London fights are on. She is more pumped up than any of the men on this card. I absolutely love me some Meatball. It was a good face-off. Both women excited. Dredd gave a creepy little, like, psycho smile when they faced off. Her smile started as kind of like a, I know I'm going to win smirk, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and eventually she's doing this thing when they're like head to head. I love that. I absolutely love that intensity. It shows confidence. It shows she's ready. She's excited for the fight. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this one. So I haven't pulled the trigger on anything here. I haven't actually put a bet here on this fight to this point. I talked earlier in the week. I kind of lean Luana Carolina. I think the height and the reach is going to be a thing that Molly maybe struggles with a little bit. A lot of people are citing the Fire Fist fight where Molly McCann was able to get inside and bop her up. I actually think that Dredd is a better striker than Fire Fist, so I think that she'll be able to handle that pressure a little bit better. And then also one thing I think is maybe a sneaky spot I might be sprinkling is Luana Carolina by submission, because Molly McCann has been subbed before. I know it's something that she's worked on, but Dredd is getting better on the ground. She's training at Novo União, and she's got these really long limbs, and that means that not like rear naked chokes always, not, guillotines always, but like darces and anacondas, the types of chokes that you can't really defend. If you shoot a sloppy takedown and leave yourself in the wrong position, she can scoop those things up with those long arms and you won't see them coming. So I think there's a slight potential that Luana Carolina can finish this fight. I know Molly McCann's going to crash the pocket, drop her hands, and look to brawl. I do think the elbows and the knees for Carolina are going to be there and be available. My only concern with this fight from like a money line standpoint is that Meatball is going to be the aggressor, so she's going to be coming forward, pressing the action. We know the judges like that. She'll probably be landing the bigger, winging, harder shots. We know the judges like that. And she's the hometown girl. The crowd is going to be going nuts every single time Molly McCann touches Luana Carolina. So because of that, if this thing goes to the judges' scorecards, Molly McCann is getting her hand raised. If you put a bet on Luana Carolina, you have to understand decision is not an option. We will not be winning a decision today with Luana Dredd Carolina. So that's kind of my fear. I want to bet Luana Carolina. I think on a neutral site, I probably would bet Luana Carolina. But in this venue, considering who's going to be there and the judges and the crowd, and I can't go against Molly McCann on her home turf here. I do think that Dredd is probably the better fighter, someone who I'm looking to get behind moving forward, and I think I might sprinkle that inside the distance or the sub prop, but I'm very, very nervous to play the straight money line just because I have a hard time seeing her pulling a decision out considering the circumstances. Takashi Sato taking on Gunnar Nelson. Takashi came in at 170 and Nelson came in at 171. No issues from Takashi Sato. He looked fine. Boy, this man, he looked, a little sketchy on the scales, and he tweeted out a picture of himself earlier with him saying he felt like dying, and he looked awful. He's like shuddered up. His arms are wrapped around his knees. He looks like he's on the brink of death. It is not looking good. That son of a bitch pranked us. He tweets 15 minutes later, he tweets out, "Just kidding," and he's got a giant smile on his face sitting on top of a counter or some shit. He is legitimately trolling MMA Twitter, and I'm here for it. I love Takashi Sato. This guy is hilarious. So he looked fine on the scales today. Gunnar Nelson, relaxed. He's in excellent shape. He is ready for his comeback here, and no problems. Very confident looking. Sato obviously is a little bit bigger. Gunnar Nelson's the type of guy that doesn't really cut weight, so he's filled out up at 170, but he probably could make 155 if he really wanted to. Respectful face-off. These guys are both ready to go. I've got Gunnar Nelson in my big parlay. I do think he wins. We know Sato's got the weakness on the ground, so if Gunnar gets him to the floor, it's pretty much over. I also think Gunnar Nelson can kind of point strike his way to victory, avoiding the big bombs of Sato. I'm in on Gunnar here. Rodrigo Vargas taking on Paddy Pimblett. And we're all Team Paddy around here. Rodrigo Vargas came in on the scales, very intense, knows he's the underdog here, looking good. Paddy Pimblett, both guys made 155. Pimblett was looking good, gave an enormous flex. He's tall, he's long, good frame for the division. Size advantage obviously goes to Paddy Pimblett when they face off here today. Pretty respectful, actually. Paddy Pimblett seems to have beef with Elliot, but not with Vargas. Vargas knows what's in front of him. He looked very intense, ready to go. But Paddy's definitely playing up to the crowd, having a good time out there. Paddy closes out my parlay. He's my other big chalky piece. I think this is a spot where he's just the better man. He's been synced up here with Vargas for the purposes of getting a win outside of some fluky knockout from Vargas. I don't see how or where or when he wins this fight. I think it's Paddy all day. Next up, Dan Hooker taking on Arnold Allen. Hooker came in at 145. Allen came in at 146. And Dan Hooker, he stepped a little gingerly onto the scales this morning, but that's kind of to be expected. Everyone was talking about how awful he looked for his weight cut, but boy, did he make it. Showed everybody he's a professional, got up there, gave an enormous flex. Say it with me, folks. This guy is shredded. He is massive for 145, and he is pumped up. He wore the sunglasses, so I'm a little concerned with him wearing the sunglasses. That's a strike against him. But he was pumped up, moved well. As soon as they read the weight, he was good to go. Arnold Allen, he looks jacked, if I'm being honest. Arnold Allen, he's much shorter, stockier, maybe a natural 145er, so he's filled out a little bit more than somebody like Dan. Dude is thick. He looked good. I can't disrespect him here in any way. But when they face off, Hooker is so much bigger. I mean, way bigger. This is a respectful face-off. I am in on Dan Hooker here. 3-unit bomb, even money, plus 100. I think he's got the back class, higher level experience, fought tougher guys. Now he's getting a step down in competition, or a perceived step down in competition, back at 145, where he's going to have a significant height and reach and size and strength advantage, stuff that he didn't have up at 155 quite as much. I think this is all writing on the wall that Dan Hooker is supposed to be the guy that gets it done here, and I think that's recency bias. Everybody wants to go against him. I get Arnold Allen's a good fighter. Trust me, I do. I like Arnold Allen, but he's not untouchable, and he's barely squeezed by a couple of his opponents. Biggest step up of his career. Let's go, Hangman. Main event time, Tom Aspinall came in at 252 pounds. Volkov came in at 253. We also had the backup fighter, Marcin Tybura, weigh in at 258, which, there was rumors of a backup fighter. Twitter sniffed it out. We figured out that Marcin Tybura was skulking around London for this one. He's got a fight coming up, actually, already scheduled, but made a little extra paycheck being on point here, having a vacation in London. Tom Aspinall, arms straight up in the air, feeling the moment. He did the same thing at the ceremonial weigh-ins. He definitely is trying to suck up every minute he can here. Alexander Volkov was very patient on the scales today. One arm flex, very confident looking smirk on his face. One point that I want to make sure I get here is that Alexander Volkov is normally a man who tips the scales. He put that weight on. He put all that muscle on and tried to get big for the division for a while there. Came in at 264, 265 a couple times in a row when he was facing the bigger monsters of the weight class. He came in 10 pounds lighter today, which to me, first and foremost, speaks of him understanding his opponents. You see this with boxing, especially if you look at like the Fury Wilder fights where their weights fluctuated so drastically. And, you want to look at like Daniel Cormier too. That was another fight, his trilogy with Stipe, where their weights fluctuated depending on the game plan. So we need to read into this. We absolutely do, because it's a real thing. I know I'm trying to be serious here for you with this thing on my head, and it's working real well, I can tell. So Volkov coming in 10 pounds lighter, to me, speaks to the cardio, to me, speaks to the speed. He understands that he's not facing a big, lumbering heavyweight, a guy that's going to get him, pinned up against the fence or try to drag him to the ground. He needs the speed. He needs to be on his toes. He needs to look out for the fast hands of Tom Aspinall. So he also is getting lighter. He also is getting leaner because he's going to be prepared for it. And another thing, this man caught COVID twice. We talk about the Tybura fight and how rough he looked in that fight. He was just coming off of his second bout with COVID. So because of that, he was not in the kind of condition we are accustomed to seeing him in. Being 10 pounds lighter, that speaks to me of the road work. That speaks to me of him doing his cardio. He is lighter because he's going to be in condition for this fight. Like, Volkov knows the assignment. He understands what's in front of him right now, and he's coming in prepared for that assignment. When they face off, size advantage goes to Volkov. We knew that coming in. Damn, Tom Aspinall has a huge head. When they get face to face, like, even though Volkov is the bigger man, Aspinall's got the bigger head. You always think it's always a little odd when you see something like that happen. Good face off. These guys are ready to go. 3-unit bomb on Volkov. Drago, baby. We're rocking with the Russians again this week. Not a 7-unit bet for my man, because he's even money, but a 3-unit bet. And honestly, guys, I'm tempted to put more on. I think this is a spot where if Tom Aspinall doesn't get it done in round 1 or round 2, he's not going to have the gas to keep up with Volkov. He's not a technical enough striker to keep up with Volkov. I think the longer this fight goes, the more it favors my boy, and I do fully expect Alexander Volkov to TKO Tom Aspinall in the 3rd round on Saturday. So as long as he is smart and intelligent with his defense early in the fight, which we know historically he has been, I think we're going to get this win. That's the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show, folks. Good luck on all your degenerate action. Good luck tomorrow at UFC London. Unless you're watching this on Saturday morning, then good luck later today on UFC London. Let's roll! Patty.